In this video, we're going to discuss horizontal asymptotes and limits. So, quick review of what a horizontal asymptote is. What happens when you go to the outsides of your graph and your kind of y values level off at some place. So you can see these kind of red dotted lines on the left. My graph is kind of just getting closer and closer and leveling off at that dotted line. This one, it wiggles back and forth, but it's all just in the same kind of red dotted line. So these are the horizontal asymptotes of this graph. All right, so the definition of a horizontal asymptote is x grows without bounds, or x is going to positive infinity or negative infinity, but our y values are going to level off and get close to a single y value, so we can write our limit like this. The limit as x approaches infinity is this y value b. In the previous graph, I think it was 2. As x approaches negative infinity, now we're going all the way to the left of our graph. All right, our y values level off. I think in the last example it was negative 2. All right, so now we want to take this expression, I think I accidentally just did that, and write them using our limit notation. All right, so there's two different limits we can do for horizontal asymptotes. We can go to all the way to the left, and we can go all the way to the right. All right, so these are our two different limits we can do. So if we're going all the way to the left, I follow my graph along to the left, and I can see it levels off there, and I just told you the answer. The answer is negative 2. As I go to the right, my graph again wiggles back and forward, but it kind of levels off on that line, and that line is 2. All right, so these are my horizontal asymptotes that we can describe using limit notation. All right, consider this table. All right, write any limit expressions that you can and identify if they're horizontal or vertical asymptotes. All right, so the first thing we need for our horizontal asymptotes, which we're focusing on in this video, is the values to get really big, right? X is going to and infinity. So we look at this table, is there anywhere where the values are getting really big? Yeah, as we go to the left here, the x values are getting really big. Well, not really big, 1,000 is not a big, but you can see they're getting bigger and bigger. And you can see at the same time, our y values are leveling off. They're getting close to the same number. So I can write a limit expression, the limit as x approaches negative infinity, right? It's going to the left, negative values of f of x. And what's happening to my y values? As I'm going to the left to these big negative x values, my y values are getting close to 4. All right, so that's one limit expression I could write, and this is a horizontal asymptote. But we also have vertical asymptotes. Vertical asymptotes are almost the reverse, and we're looking at vertical asymptotes. Our y values are going to infinity. So now we look at our y values. Are there any places in this table where our y values are getting really big? And they are. In the bottom here, they're going up and they're getting extremely big. And what's happening to our x values at the same time? The x values in the same region, they're these really small negative numbers that are getting close to 0. So I can write a limit expression. My x values are getting close to 0. All right, that's that yellow line. My x values are getting closer to 0. And as that's happening, my y values are going to infinity. All right, so that is going to be a vertical asymptote. This is a really important distinction to make about what's happening where for your horizontal asymptotes, your x values are getting really big, but your y values are going to a single number. That's the left of this table. For your vertical asymptotes, your x values are just going to a number, but your y values are getting really big. That's the right side of this table. So keeping track of that is kind of the most important thing when you're dealing with these asymptotes. All right, so see if you can write any infinite limit expressions for the following graphs. Again, pause the video for a second, try it yourself, and I'll show you the two answers. All right, we have, all right, there's only two horizontal asymptotes we can do. Right, there's only two directions. If I'm going to negative infinity, the left-hand side of my graph, you can see it kind of flattens off there, and the y value there is negative 4. And I'm going to positive infinity, you can see it levels off there, and that y value is negative 3. All right, so these are my two horizontal asymptotes for this graph. And again, the important thing for horizontal asymptotes, x goes to infinity, y goes to a number. All right, and that's what's going to be the summary for this case. It's vertical asymptotes, x gets close to a number, so x is here, and our y values go to infinity. So that's what a vertical asymptote looks like. Horizontal asymptote, x goes to infinity, but y levels off at a number. All right, so knowing the difference between horizontal and vertical and where the infinity is going is the most important part from these videos.